Everybody ready?
Which is why I'm thinking of something else. But it's
I now call this meeting of the Ann Arbor Board of Education to order. Ms. Ozinski, may we have a roll call, please?
Hello? Hello? Okay.
Hello.
Trustee Basquette?
Yes.
President Feaster?
Yes.
Trustee Mohammed?
Here.
Trustee Schmidt?
Present.
Trustee Wilkerson?
Present.
Trustee Wilkins?
Here.
Trustee Wilkes?
Present.
I would now like to introduce the non-voting member at the table, Superintendent of Schools, Ms. Jazz Parks.
Good evening. Thank you, President Feaster.
Trustees, I believe you all have the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Trustee Schmidt, supported by Trustee Wilkes. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Ozinski, please.
Trustee Basquette?
Yes.
President Feaster?
Yes.
Trustee Mohammed?
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt?
Yes.
Trustee Wilkerson?
Yes.
Trustee Wilkins?
Yes.
Trustee Wilkes?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I believe that brings it down to public commentary. The board would like to remind everyone that individuals who have signed up for public commentary will have their name called and are given an opportunity to speak. Commenters will receive up to 4 minutes with a total of no more than 45 minutes allowed for the public commentary period. When your name is called, please come forward and speak at the microphone. To help manage your time, a clock will be placed on the screen in front of you. We would like to remind everyone that public comments generally pertain to Ann Arbor Public School District matters. Comments about any individual or individuals are expressly prohibited. Also, please understand that board members do not respond to public comments, but we will listen carefully and follow up as appropriate. Ms. Ozinski, how many times do we have for this evening?
We have 2 signed up this evening,
Thank you.
and so each person will get 4 minutes. And the first is Amile Handelsman.
Get your mic working.
Can you start my clock again? Oh, good, thank you. So, members of the board, Superintendent Parks, good evening. My name is Amiel Handelsman. I'm a almost lifelong resident of Ann Arbor. I left for a little while, and I'm a parent of 2 kids. I'm here today to speak about phones in schools, and I'll soon be sending you a petition that is now going around. First, a word of gratitude. I'm aware of the pilot that you've been doing at Skyline last year. I saw Casey Elmore's recent presentation, and I know you're spreading it throughout the district. Your intentions are very positive, and I appreciate that. And yet, what I'm here to say is I think it's not enough. What we're doing is unlikely to give us the results that I think we all want, and there are better ways to do this. One word about something you're very familiar with, which is angry parents. Hopefully I don't look like an angry parent. And if you remember one thing today, maybe you could remember this. You might think that the stronger the policy you create around phones in schools, the angrier the parents you're going to get. You will get angrier kids. But I want to suggest that it's precisely the opposite. Ann Arbor is filled with parents, and I just read about 45 comments, fraction of the petition signers that came in. They're frustrated, they're distraught, they're pleading with you to take a strong stand, and in this case, a stand for all-day phone-free schools. And if you do, we will have your back. Remember that. So this petition, which I'll be sending you, is signed by parents and teachers who want all-day phone-free schools, not just phone-free classrooms, not phones in personal lockers or backpacks or pockets, from first bell to the last bell. On Friday, we started circulating the petition. Last I looked, it's about 180 signatures. Why does this exist? Because the district appears to be aiming for phone-free classrooms. And all of the research I've read supports all-day phone-free schools. What's the difference? Number one, how much of the day is phone-free? Is it just classroom time? Or is it all day first bell, the last bell? Second, and most importantly, where do those phones go during the day? Do we ask students to keep them in their lockers or backpacks on an honor system, which basically means they end up in their pockets, which has been compared to giving drug addicts drugs and saying, please put these in your pocket and don't touch them for the next 8 hours? Or do we give them, ask them to fully give up access to their phones for the day using magnetically sealed Yonder pouches, which are about $25 each, or if budgets are tight, envelopes or pencil pouches stored in a secure central location. So those are the differences. Now, why does this matter? Number one, only a first bell to last bell policy consistently keeps phones out of classrooms, focuses students on learning. If you have phone caddies in classrooms, and I've talked to a lot of teachers who do, or you rely on students to resist the urge to reach into their pockets or backpacks, things fail. And we've been hearing from a lot of teachers where that is the case here and around the country. Only the most seasoned teachers have the capacity to stand firm. All the other ones, the junior teachers, they give up. So to have phone-free classrooms, we need phone-free schools all day. Second of all, limiting it in a classroom does nothing for all that time in between classes and at lunch when kids go on to TikTok, spread rumors. That's when cyberbullying happens. And actually, as Jonathan Haidt said, a likely result of just banning in classrooms is that all times between classes will be dominated by kids looking down silently at their phones, trying to get that fix they've been missing. Last but not least, this is better for equity. Studies show that the strongest gains from these all-day bans are among underachieving and disadvantaged students. Nationally, 83% teachers want me to stop, and let's listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll be sending out this to you tomorrow. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Heather Esper.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My comment follows up on the first comment that was just made. Last year, our PTO at Ba Elementary hosted a 3-part book discussion series on the anxious generation, how the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness by Jonathan Haidt. The idea for the series came from a Ba parent who is also a teacher at Pioneer High School, and someone who sees firsthand the daily impact of cell phone use in the classroom. His son is friends with my son, who's a 4th grader, and we'd love to see something in place before our kids get to middle school and high school. Throughout the series, we had the opportunity to learn from multiple perspectives, including Pioneer's principal and a local LMSW who works with children and adolescents struggling with anxiety and depression. These conversations deepened our understanding of mental health and social implications of smartphones, especially in the school setting. As elementary parents, we want to be proactive in supporting policies that prioritize student well-being. One key takeaway from the book and discussion series is the importance of limiting phone access during the school day. Parents can do so much at home, but what happens at schools is somewhat out of our control. We believe that instituting a consistent first bell to last bell phone-free policy across the district would be a powerful step in supporting students' focus, learning, and mental health, particularly as they enter middle and high school. This summer, we watched as Chelsea School District implemented a no-phone policy across its schools. It was encouraging to see a neighboring district take bold action to address this growing concern. But frankly, it was also disheartening to see AAPS lag behind on the issue. We hope AAPS will consider a strong district-wide approach to managing cell phone use during the school day, aligned with what the research and growing real-world experience is showing. Our kids are better off when schools set firm boundaries around phones. Thanks for your consideration.
And that concludes public commentary.
We appreciate hearing from our community. The board would like to thank everyone who spoke and shared their comments tonight. Ms. Parks, are there any points of clarification?
Only that we continue to address this issue of cell phones internally, and I know we have governance coming up where the issue is going to be talked about in governance as it relates to both the responsibility of the district, but also, parents as the first and front line in students having access to cell phones, and how we are partners with parents in ensuring that our students are safe and focused during the school day. So I'm sure we will have more conversation at the governance committee.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. Ms. Ozinski, that brings us down to community feedback. Is there any?
We received no community feedback for this
Thank you.
meeting.
And I believe that brings us down to number 5, reports of association. And I would like to invite the AAEA and Mr. Fred Klein if he's present.
Thank you. Evening, trustees, Superintendent Parks, Ann Arbor Public Schools community. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Fred Klein. I'm an elementary school teacher by trade here in the district, but I'm proud to serve as the president of the Ann Arbor Education Association, the union that represents the professional and teaching staff of the Ann Arbor Public Schools. As we settle back from a much needed fall break, which by the way, our feedback continues to be very positive about a fall break. It's fairly new for us. So as we settle back in from that, there are several important updates and concerns I'd like to share with you, both in terms of advocacy efforts and the state of our ongoing contract negotiations. Let me begin with some positive developments. Our AAEA Political Action Committee, or PAC, has been hard at work, and we're proud to share that we've officially endorsed the Washtenaw County CTE millage. We're financially supporting that effort too. If passed, as you know, this millage would bring much needed funds to Ann Arbor Public Schools career and technical education programs. Not only would this enhance learning opportunities for our students, but it would also help free up general fund dollars that could go toward teacher salaries and healthcare cost sharing, both of which are top priorities for our members. We've also endorsed the Invest in My Kids, MI, capital MI, Michigan, Invest in My Kids ballot initiative. This initiative, if it makes it onto the ballot and passes in 2026, could bring in more than $1 billion a year to the state school aid fund. That's a major opportunity for all public schools in Michigan. If anyone here hasn't signed the petition yet and you would like to, reach out to me through email and I'll make sure that we get you a ballot to sign. I'd be happy to help you do that. Moving to the bargaining front, I'm pleased to report that we reached an MOA, or Memorandum of Agreement, around parent-teacher conferences. This updated language offers greater flexibility for both educators and families. Importantly, it allows for some conferences to be held remotely, which we believe will support stronger communication while acknowledging the realities of everyone's hectic schedules. But now I must turn to some very serious concerns, particularly regarding healthcare. We recently received our new healthcare rates and were frankly shocked at what we saw. As you remember, last year our healthcare costs increased by 25%, and this year we're facing an additional 18% increase. So that's a 43% increase in a one-year period. Meanwhile, the district's contribution towards those increases has gone up only by 2.92%, and that percentage is based on a much smaller base. So the result, nearly all of those cost increases are being passed directly on to our teachers and staff. To put it in plain terms, as you know, this is unsustainable. We've had to make some tough decisions. So when we bargained, we dropped the most expensive plan and added 3 new ones with lower premium costs. But as you all know, lower premiums often mean higher out-of-pocket expenses down the road. The burden is shifting in ways that are making it harder and harder for our members to stay. I brought a chart to share real quick just to illustrate how this is impacting our teachers and AAEA members. So if you look at the plans, we've put this graph up for 2025, and each plan that we currently have is in that top graphic. So the annual contribution for this current year, this is out of pocket for members, and it shows what it is per paycheck. So for the PPO, $9,237 out of a teacher's salary every year goes to that health insurance. That's $384.88 per check. The renewal rates this year are going to cost $14,363 for each member in that plan, or $623.97 per paycheck. Imagine that you're a teacher making $50,000 a year, how much that is of your salary. And the increase to our members is 55% in that plan. When you look at the HMO tiered plan, currently our members are paying $5,541 a year, or $230.88 per paycheck. The new renewal rate will be $6,257 out of pocket per year, or $279.16 per paycheck. That's a 13% increase. That PPO 500, which was new last year, out-of-pocket cost for a teacher or a member was $7,258, or $302 per paycheck. This year, that will increase to $11,474, or $501.09 per paycheck. And that's a 58% increase in what the member is feeling. And lastly, for the current plans, the HSA PPO was $4,620 out of pocket, or $180 per paycheck. That's increasing to $6,694 out of pocket, or $296 per paycheck. Let me put a caveat on that. That's for 24 paychecks out of the 26 we get each year. And that's a 45% increase. Now down below, you can see the 3 new plans we've added thanks to our bargaining with the district. And those offer lower premiums, but again, lower premiums often just shift the cost to out of pocket for co-pays and co-insurance. Thanks for the graphic, Andrew. These increases are pushing educators to make impossible choices, and many are choosing to leave the district for places where compensation and benefits are more competitive. As we prepare to resume financial bargaining later this month or early in November, because we're waiting on the audited budget and the final student count, once we have that in hand, we must stay focused on one goal: retaining and attracting the best educators for our students. Last year, if you remember, our rallying cry was "Keep us here." That hasn't changed. We want to stay. But to keep us here, we need real financial relief, and that means increased salaries, meaningful support for our healthcare costs combined. There is a bit of hope. In the new state budget, there's $203 million in one-time funding allocated specifically to help offset the kind of crushing healthcare increases we're seeing across the state. So this isn't just an Ann Arbor problem. It's just a little worse here because of some other factors, but it's everywhere. And while this funding is temporary, it is urgently needed. The budget also includes increased funding in categoricals and a $442 per pupil increase to the foundation allowance. So those are good things. I want to urge the board to use every available resource to support the educators who make this district what it is. We're not asking for for more than what's fair. We're asking for the resources that allow us to stay, to teach, and to thrive in this community. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your partnership. Let's work together to keep Ann Arbor Public Schools a place where great teachers want to be and where they can afford to stay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. And I believe that brings us to 5.2, and that is our Ann Arbor Administrators Association. And I'd like to welcome them to the podium as well.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
It's good to see you. It's been a while since I've had a chance to come and stand before you, but for those I haven't had the chance to meet, I'm Stefan Hogan. I have the wonderful privilege of being the principal of the best school in the nation, Abbott Elementary. And we had parent-teacher conference tonight, and I promise you, every single parent and kid that I got to see, high five, and hug would agree with me. So there we are. I'll let.
I don't know how I follow that up, but my name is Anthony Lauer. I'm the principal with A2 Virtual and also the Quad A treasurer and the district AP coordinator. So we're going to share a little bit of good news with you this evening from our membership.
So we're here today in our roles as part of the Administrator Association. We are both on the exec board. As Anthony has shared, he's our wonderful treasurer, and I don't know what I am on ours, but I'm something. And we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the great things that are happening at our schools. As it is Principal Appreciation Month, we wanted to make sure that you knew that we are out here working hard on behalf of every one of our students and every family member to help and make sure that they have every opportunity available to them to see the success that is out there for them. And so we know how important leadership is, especially in this hour. We know that effective leadership in schools is vital for creating an environment where students can thrive. School leaders, principals, administrators, assistant principals go above and beyond to set the vision and the tone for the entire community. We inspire teachers and staff and students and families and community partners to continue to link together to see the educational and opportunities thrive and flourish for every one of our students. We inspire hope and joy in our community, and not just inside the school but outside as well. And so school leaders, we are responsible for so many things. We have so many things that we do every single day. But the thing that I cherish the most about my job, and I got the chance to share with some of you, last year a student, they did these posters, and they got to share some things that they think that I do. And it was wonderful. They say that I serve lunch, which I do. They say that I am in the lunchroom a lot, which I am. They say that I'm in their classrooms, which I am. They say that I'm in the office. They say that I am the nurse. They say that I do recess. They say that I do traffic. They say, but the thing that really, like, I am now changing my title from principal. One of my lovelies said that I keep the city safe.
Ooh, okay.
So I am Batman. That is what I do.
Saw that coming.
But can you imagine? That is what we do as principals. Every single day, we go above and beyond to make sure that every student feels seen, feels safe, feels like they matter, feels like this is a place that belongs to them. And so that's what we do every day. And so I've got a bunch more stuff, but I'm gonna leave it at Batman. I'm gonna let Anthony share some of the specific things. Sorry, that happened. Go ahead.
So I get the opportunity to start sharing some of the specific examples that our members wanted us to share with everyone in the community. So as HU Virtual, I get to go first. So HU Virtual, we've made significant strides in providing personalized educational opportunities to the AAPS community. Currently, we're supporting over 1,200 students in grades 5 through 12, helping them pursue academic goals while accommodating their personal aspirations. Notably, we have professional or soon-to-be professional ice skaters that are trying to go to the Olympics. We have a student in Pittsburgh that is training to be a professional ballet dancer. We also have a member that is currently in India trying to support his family while he's over there and is able to maintain his educational goals through our program and still be able to support those different opportunities. This fall, we did return to in-person orientations, which is the first time we've done that since COVID. And that allowed us to bring families together with our staff so that they could learn about our program and really celebrate the start of the new year. We really wanted to make sure students got off to a good start in our program. So other things that are happening in buildings at STEAM and Abbott, at HU STEAM Northside, the resource room teacher, Callie Nowitzki, introduced the Unified Special Olympics program. This initiative is a wonderful opportunity for students promoting inclusion and engagement among all learners. It is essential that schools reflect the diversity of the community and provide opportunities for every student to participate. Community involvement has been a cornerstone of success this year. At Abbott Elementary, you got this one? Strong parental and community support has made it possible to host a variety of events that engage students and families alike. A sense of belonging is crucial for students' growth, and these community events foster that connection. At Ba Elementary, a successful walk, bike, roll to school event promoted healthy habits among students. Additionally, the fun run raised over $26,000. This achievement showcases the commitment of students and staff, with Ba ranking second in the district for student engagement in Dreambox lessons. It's a testament to what can be accomplished when the whole community comes together for a common cause. Burns Park also celebrated a successful walk, bike, and roll day where students participated in a morning walk around the park. The event was filled with fun, cheer, and good vibes. Additionally, a field trip was organized for students who did not celebrate Halloween, allowing them to engage in a meaningful cultural experience at the UMMA exhibition. This commitment to inclusion is a hallmark of the district's mission. Carpenter Elementary achieved a remarkable 99% completion rate for Dreambox, enforcing the district's goal for math instruction. The dedication of students, teachers, support staff, and the building math coach, Ms. Jones, deserves recognitions for their hard work in supporting students in this commitment. Eber White Elementary also has a busy start to the school year. They kicked off their annual hassle-free fundraiser, which raised enough funds to provide free access for every family to all events hosted by the PTO throughout the year. They recently hosted their annual fun run, which include a special water run with an event with the Ann Arbor Fire Department. Looking ahead, Eber White will celebrate their annual Wood Chip Day, where every student will participate in spreading wood chips on a section of the Eber White Woods path, a true day of community service.
So I get to pick up and talk about Lakewood, who celebrated their Hispanic Heritage Month with its second annual fiesta, showcasing the rich cultural diversity of the community. So this event was made possible by the Lakewood Mamas Group, and so the Pioneer Latino Student Union, and that whole entire community which came together to make that such an amazing event. Mitchell has been implementing and initiating a kindness initiative throughout the student council group. And so they're encouraging students to recognize and celebrate acts of kindness. And by catching each other being kind and sharing these messages over the announcements, students have helped to create and cultivate a caring and supportive school environment, which is absolutely amazing and wonderful. We've got Pioneer, which has implemented a strategy to improve student attendance, achieving a significant reduction in tardiness and unverified absences. And so the leadership team has worked diligently to create some clear expectations and providing incentives for students and working to engage them so that they can continue those educational opportunities and hopes and dreams that they have. Skyline has engaged students through a variety of grade level presentations and college visits, ensuring that they are informed about resources that are available to them. The partnership with the T. Wall Foundation has facilitated critical programming for special needs students, empowering inclusion and community connection. And students truly are able to shine during these events, demonstrating leadership, empathy, pride, and just overall joy in their school. At Slauson, they had a Stop the Bleed presentation, which equipped them with vital skills in medical science. So this real-world training adds a practical dimension to some of the classroom learning and experiences that students have in their Project Lead the Way classes, preparing students for any future challenges that they have. You know, that's what we want them to know, all the things that they possibly can know. And so it was a great example of connecting some of the things that they've learned to real-life skills. And at Thurston, students are showcasing their artistic talents as part of a collaboration with a new art teacher, Ms. Hissong, and all the students are creating original art pieces and works, and they're celebrating the school community. And so a selection committee will be choosing one piece of art from each of the grade levels to be printed in large format and displayed around the construction site of the new building. And so that is something that is great when we're thinking about building community. And so we could continue to go on and on and on. And so I will. No, I'm just kidding. I won't. But hopefully you understand and you hear that there are amazing things that are happening inside of every one of our schools. There is learning that is happening. There is growth that is happening. You see beauty that is happening in every one of our schools. And it is happening because of the amazing students that we have, because of the amazing community that we have, because the amazing staff and teachers and support staff and cafeteria staff. And you know, one of the parents asked, they didn't ask to see me, they asked to see Mr. Morgan, our custodian. I said, don't worry, I'll get him a table next time. But also because of the amazing leadership that is happening in every one of our schools. And so I want to just take a minute to say thank you to my colleagues that are putting in the work to see that exceptional educational opportunity happen here in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. Have a good night.
Thank you all very much. I believe that brings us down to number 6, community group reports. Ms. Ozinski, do we have any groups signed up for this evening?
No groups this evening.
Thank you. I believe that brings us to number, yes.
change to the agenda, and I completely forgot to mention it earlier. So if I may, just real quick,
I think you can make a motion at any point.
oh,
so.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay. What are you adding?
To add the MASB 2025 Assembly Delegate discussion. There's a conference taking place this week, and we need to address some of the proposals or some of the amendments and proposals that the MASB is planning to approve. And we'll be voting on those this week.
Where do you think that fits best in our agenda?
Let's do it after the culture and climate.
How about after the culture and climate presentation? And it won't be very long.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's been moved by Trustee Wilkes to add the MASB delegate discussion to after the culture and climate portion of our agenda. Is there support?
Second.
Moved by Trustee Wilkes, supported by Trustee Basket. Any discussion, trustees? Saying none, Ms. Ozinski, please.
Trustee Basket,
Yes.
President Feaster,
Yes.
Trustee Muhammad,
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt,
Yes.
Trustee Wilkerson,
Yes.
Trustee Wilkins,
Yes.
and Trustee Wilkes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I believe that brings us back to number 7, board committee reports. And it looks like the only committee that met in the last 2 weeks is the Finance Committee, and I'll turn it over to Trustee Wilkerson for his report.
All right, thank you. The Finance Committee met on Monday, October 20th at 9 a.m. We covered the monthly monitoring report, which will be presented to the full board this evening. We also had a brief update on the progress for the annual audit, which will be closing in the coming days for presentation in November. And I just want to say a special thank you to the finance team for fulfilling all the requests for the audit. Being an auditor and knowing what we request of those teams, that's in addition to their daily operation and work. It's quite a bit to go through, so I just want to say thank you to our finance team.
Thank you. And I believe that brings us down to, if there are no questions. Okay, I believe that brings us down to number 8, the information section and the superintendent update. Superintendent Parks.
Thank you, President Feaster. Just a brief superintendent's update this evening. Starting out with Dr. Hayward, Nancy Shore and I were delighted to attend the Building Empowered Futures Luncheon hosted by Girls Group on October 11th. The event was held at Jack Roth Stadium at the University of Michigan, and it included keynote speakers and an inspirational program that really highlighted the work of the girls group and their work in our schools, which we really appreciate. The fundraising event brought in approximately $53,000 during the paddle raise, and when combined with sponsorships, an estimated $94,000 in net support was generated, all in support of their overall mission to build a better future, one girl at a time. And we are very lucky that a lot of that support goes towards students in our secondary schools. We also had the pleasure of attending the Ann Arbor Kiwanis Club Scholarship event on October 14th. Several of our AAPS scholarship recipients and their families were in attendance, and I was honored to be able to speak on behalf of the county superintendents, extending our gratitude to both the Kiwanis and Washtenaw Community College for their support of students via the Finish Line Scholarships, which provides full ride funding to students and covers the cost of books, tuition, and fees for up to 2 years towards the completion of an associate's degree or graduation. The goal of the program is to help students cross the finish line and complete their college education. The Student Support Advisory met last week for our monthly meeting. What an amazing group of students, staff, parents, and community members who are working together to improve student outcomes and support for students. The team engaged in data-driven discussions on trend discipline data and also started reviewing the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, and we look forward to our continued work with that team as we meet regularly throughout this year, coming to the board in the spring with a set of recommendations. Washtenaw My Brother's Keeper is celebrating its 3rd annual gala dinner on Sunday, October 26th from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. at the Eastern Michigan University Student Center. WMBK is an organization dedicated to empowering multiple generations to build community by using innovative means to change narratives, practices, and policies resulting in improved outcomes for young men and boys of color in Washtenaw County. AAPS will be in attendance to support this worthy cause, and we are also very lucky to have them as a part of our Student Support Advisory Committee as well. The Pioneer Choirs will be well represented at the Michigan School Vocal Music Association Region C High School Honors Choir in December. To be considered, students submitted an audition video of them singing their part to a specific choral work, a cappella, and were adjudicated based on tone, intonation, and musicianship. The top 170 students were selected across Region C. So congratulations to the 10 members of the Pioneer Choir who auditioned for and were accepted into the MSV-MA Region C High School Honors Choir. These students will join 170 of their peers from throughout the MSV-MA Region C to rehearse and perform on December 6th at Allen Park High School. Congratulations. Public health announcement here for just trustees and community. Since the spring, there has been a significant increase in cases of outbreaks across the U.S., including here in Michigan, which has impacted districts across the country of measles. Measles can cause serious health problems such as pneumonia and encephalitis and even death. About 1 in 5 people who get measles will be hospitalized. Because measles is so contagious, even one case of measles is an urgent public health matter. In the event of a measles case at one of our schools, we have been already in collaboration with, but if we do have a case in one of our schools, we will continue to work with Washtenaw County Health Department on that outbreak. Students who are not fully immunized with MMR vaccine may be excluded from school and all school-related activities for a minimum of 21 days. So the MMR vaccine ensures that your child isn't included on an exclusion list if a case of measles or a measles outbreak happens to occur. If you have questions about measles or the MMR vaccine, visit the Washtenaw County Health Department website or talk to your healthcare provider. Lastly, as a follow-up to Mr. Lauer and Mr. Hogan, this month is National Principals Month, and we surprised our leaders last week at the Leadership Council that we have with them every month with a video of heartfelt gratitude and genuine messages from students and staff. And we'd like to close out the superintendent's report this evening by sharing the video.
I love that Meg speaks to students really respectfully, even when they're in their toughest moments and the middle of a meltdown. And she just kind of gets down and meets them at their level and is able to be kind and empathetic and just show them as much love as she can.
He really cares about everyone in this building, and he's always making sure to do his best, even when others aren't.
Our principal, Brandon Swikowski, is one of the most genuinely kind people I think I've ever met. He has a massive heart for these children. He would bend over backwards just to make sure that they succeed.
Best principal in the world, and I like her very much, and she gives me hugs and high fives every day.
We love Corey here at Thurston. He puts kids and teachers first, and everybody.
Okay.
President Feaster, would this be perhaps a good time for us to make a motion to take a break?
To students really
How long do we
respectfully,
anticipate
even when
this
they're
approval?
in their toughest moments and the middle of a meltdown.
Right.
She just kind of gets down and meets them at their level and is able to be kind and empathetic and
We can
just show them as much love as she can.
Yep. We can come back to the video. All right. Yep. We'll come back to the video.
All right. So skipping that for now, moving now to 8.2, monthly budget monitoring report. I believe we're going to have Ms. Francoeur will present this item.
Thank you, President Feaster. We have Ms. Francoeur here, as you stated, to present the September monthly monitoring report for us. So we will bring that up on the screen, and Ms. Francoeur will go ahead and get us started.
Good evening.
We can get it up on the screen. And thank you, Trustee Wilkerson, for recognizing the finance team and all of the audit work we've put in. We start the summer off and we don't stop until October. So it's quite a feat, and I have a great team, so I'm very grateful to have them and all of their support as well. So, but thank you for that recognition, and I will share it. Thank you. So I'm here tonight to present the September monthly monitoring, and I know we're just getting into the school year, and September really is the biggest kickoff month for this district. Thank you. Talking about cash and investments, we'll start off, and if you see the change in cash and investments, we're doing great. We're 5.2 million ahead over last year in general fund. Our community services funds, almost $300,000 ahead of last year. Food service is 114, and school and student school activity is 103,000. So cash, we're doing fantastic. Just want to point that out. This is the monthly expenditures, and if you remember last year, this is pretty much on track where you saw the general fund last year as well at $22 million. There is nothing that really sticks out as the way of expenditures were first month and looking good in all of our funds. This is a comparison of summary of all funds report. A couple of things I want to point out before we start going through this. Going ahead into this year, I like to bring to your attention, I did the finance committee, we do have a couple of months where it's a 3-pay period. That is this month in October and also in May, again, like last year. So that's going to be very noticeable in the way of expenses. So that's just kind of a heads up that that will be coming this year. I wanted to also point out, when we look through this, food service. The first real meal claim was submitted for September, but that doesn't get submitted till the beginning of October. Yes, we've already received those funds, so there is a little bit lag in timing of when we receive the revenue for that fund. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And also, this week, as a matter of fact, we received the first state aid payment for this fiscal year. It starts in October, ends in August. So it's 11 payments in total, and we just received the first payment. So it's fantastic. Starting with the general fund revenue, I'd like to talk about year-to-date. You see we're at $51.2 million. One thing I will point out is this is, of course, is cumulative from July. And what this is 48.8 million of that 51.2 million is property tax receipts that we have received. So you can see we're very, very heavy in property tax revenue at the beginning of the school year, which will wane off as we get closer to this month, November and December, and then we'll start collecting winter taxes in January. So, and that's quite a chunk, 48.8 out of the 51 million. And I will go right down to the Community Services Fund. They're at $1.6 million year to date, which is a $400,000 gain over last year, which is fantastic. And also food service, they're a little behind, but like I said, that's the timing of meal claims and the submitting of the meal claims. And we're student school activity, there's not much activity there right now, being the beginning of the school year. We're up a little bit, but you'll see in expenses, we're also up a little bit in expenses as well in student school activity. Expenditures, general fund, we're down over last year, 1.2 million, which is fantastic. We like to see that. Community services, we're only up 89,000. That is very nominal increase. Then the food service fund, we're down in expenses as of the end of September. And like I said, student school activities, we're only up 70,000. So that's not a lot. That's just a very nominal increase. One thing I did point out, and I have to give some accolades to Community Services Fund. They have increased their before and after school care. This is why they're really doing very well this year. They've added a new team sports increase in youth and adult fitness programs. Team sports, they added a new adult basketball league. Plus, they have an addition of a 32N OST grant, which adds to the bottom line. So they're doing very well at the beginning of the school year. Thank you. So year to date, you see over last year, we're ahead in additions to fund balance in the general fund, $14.9 million. And if you go down, you see community services, we're ahead 371 over last year. Still down a little bit in food service, but that will level out as we go on. and student school activity, very little decrease. And then the beginning fund balance, I'd like to point out, that is unaudited, meaning what I used at this point in time, it's the board approved original budget for the 25-26 school year. As the audit comes to the board and gets approved by the board, then I will change those numbers to reflect the audited fiscal year end numbers. So we'll give you a truer picture of where we stand as we go through the school year. Ending fund balance, if we were to end the day on September 30th, general fund would be at a $32.8 million fund balance, and you can see the others as well. Thank you. This is the revenue and expenditures for month ending September 25, and we're looking at month to date, year to date, and also in comparison with the budget. You'll see, of course, we're at $51.2 million in revenue month to date. September was 13.4, which is a year to date percent of budget of 16.3%. And community services, you'll see that they are at 1.6, like I said in the prior screen, or prior slide, that they are at 1.6 million year to date this so far this year. That's a 25% of their budget, what was budgeted for at the beginning of the year. And that's fantastic for the beginning. This is quarter one. So they're right on track. You'll see food service fund, 2.2% of the percent of budget. And student school activity, we're at 18.4. Then we'll hop down to the expenditures. Year to date, we're at 36 million of expenditures of general fund from, that is, like I said, July to the end of September. And then that is 11.5% of the year to date of the budget. And you will see that everything else, which I'd like to point out that the expenditures, considering this is typically a quarter into the school year, the new fiscal year, not school year, that everything is trending super well. The one thing that can be a little bit deceptive is the majority of our wages, expenditures start in September of the new fiscal year, because that's our teaching staff, whereas an admin and office professionals start in July. So I just wanted to point that out. So you'll see month to date, we are down, but our revenues were much less than our expenditures, $8.6 million, not unusual for September, no state aid. You'll see community services is up. The other two funds are down a little bit, but year to date, as I spoke about before, we are, if the addition to fund balance would be 14.9 at the end of September, and then you can see the other funds. Skipping all the way down to the bottom, fund balance, percent of revenue, for general funds, 10.5. For both as a percent of revenue and a percent of expenditures, 19.1 community service fund, food service 4.1, and student school activity is 134.4. Reason being that our ending fund balance so far this year is much more than what we budgeted for at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Mr. Wilkerson.
Speak to the different funds and, you know, the fact that we really focus in on the general fund. The other funds are kind of managed and we report on them.
They are special revenue funds. Yes, the general fund is our operating fund. That is everything. That is the one that we guard with our lives in finance. And we watch very closely. Not that we don't the other funds, but the community services fund, and why, you know, I want to really promote how well they're doing, is that it's a self-sustaining fund. We don't provide any funds to the community service funds. So everything that they do has to be self-sustaining. So the general fund does not support them. Food service is a little bit different, because food service is a federally funded program. If our food service fund ended up in a deficit at the end of this fiscal year in June, the general fund would have to support and supplant that money back to the food service fund required. Student school activity, completely self-supporting too. We rely on a lot of donations from a lot of our community members, some individuals, some groups like the Kiwanis Group, who have been a fantastic contributor to a lot of different little grant programs that, you know, really help teachers, counselors, you know, the AACF, they contribute, and all of that goes in the student school activity funds. So, and that's also a self-sustaining fund. They receive all their own revenue. We track all the expenses that go out, and each school and principal, I should say, is in charge of their own student and school activity fund. We do work with them if they need help, but yep, they are in charge of their own funds.
Trustee Schmidt?
And so just to elaborate, when you talk community services fund, that is the rec and ed
Yes.
arm of what's happening. So that's
Yes.
before and after care, sports, recreational sports, et cetera.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Trustee Wilkes?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I know this came up during our committee meeting. The student school activity, does that include pay to play?
No, it does not. Pay to play actually goes to the general fund and also Rec and Ed Community Services. Community Services has, what they do is they take in the money. We have a program that does that, and they handle all of that end of it for all the people who are applying for pay to play, or parents and things like that. So what happens after that is quarterly we do a little adjustment. So the balance of the majority of the money comes to the general fund. The general fund gets that money, and I know it's kind of been questioned before, but the general fund is responsible for maintaining all of the fields, maintaining all of the gyms, make sure that everything is up and ready to go for all of the sports. So that's why the majority of the funds come back to the general fund. 3% does go to community services fund because they do handle all of the enrollment and do a lot of the administrative work for that. But yes, the majority does come back to the general fund, and that's just because we have to put the money back into operations.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is our graphs that we showed you last year, and you can see in July, we started out right on track, and this is expected versus actual. And we look at this every year. So this is our revenues. And in August, we collected a little bit less in revenue than we actually thought we would be. Our actual was a little less than expected. Reason, and I can explain that, is we had a couple townships that were a little late on payments getting to us, but I have to say they're all, everything is fine and where they should be. Then if you look in September, we are above what we expected to be. And I think that's just a little offset from August to September because, like I said, we received some of the funds a little later than we expected. And then you'll see this, we have trends set for the rest of the fiscal year. And this is the one for expenditures. So in July, our expected expenses were actually a little higher than what they actually were, so that's great. We always want lower expenditures. August, a little bit higher. Not a lot, just very minimal. And then if you scope to September, we're back to having lower than expected expenditures in September. The one thing I will point out as we go along, and I should talk about this in revenues as well, is you're going to see in October, our property tax revenues are really decreasing. And that's going to go through November and December. So you're going to see that revenue coming down a little bit because we don't have that influx of property taxes. But then again, you have to think about October, which is a 3-pay month. So you're going to see some movement when I present the October reports next month. So those are a couple of big factors. And then, like I said, you'll see the spike back up in January when the winter taxes start coming to our district. And this is the fund balance chart, actual versus expected. We have changed, the green is where our board policy is 8% this year, and that's the green. The red, the bright red, is the state of Michigan. And as you see that we started ahead in July, ahead of what it was expected. We're a little lower in August. Then again, we didn't receive all the property tax revenue that we expected to receive in August. But September, we've climbed up again, and that is because we've got the property tax now, which is great, and our expenditures were lower. So you will, again, see the dip going down, which has a lot to do with, well, has everything to do with a decrease in property tax revenue going forward until January, and also the 3 pays in October.
Mr. Wilkerson?
Okay. I just want to point out on this last slide, because again, we've had a lot of progress, a lot of positive presentation earlier in the slide. You know, we're very cash heavy right now. Mm-hmm. We've collected quite a bit of revenue and our expenses have been slightly lower than anticipated. But what we see on this slide is we're still going to be below our board policy by year end, right? So we're not going to make it to that 8%, or we're not projecting to make it to that 8% mark that you see with the green line here. Again, thankfully, we are above the state 5% requirements, but I just want to level set expectations for the public and for the rest of the board. Even though there's a lot of positive movement in the district, a lot of positive things happening, we're still projecting to be where, we initially anticipated when we set the budget in June.
That's correct.
Vice President Schmidt.
And we must understand that the state budget that everyone is saying it's gone up $400 a student, we lost the gift in the last budget that dealt with retirement healthcare, I think. And so it was no gift. So that is sort of, we have to understand that really wasn't that wasn't a raise. And so we're still having to deal with what that means when districts are flat in increases when everything else is going up.
Correct. That's absolutely.
Thank you very, very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Francor.
And I assume that brings us down to 8.3, which is the AAPS 2024-25 Culture and Climate Annual Report.
Yep.
And that's going to be brought forward by Ms. Austin and Dr. Hayward.
Yep, as they make their way to the podium. We annually do, with the exception of a couple of years ago during our financial hardships we were going through, annually do a culture and climate survey, because we always want to take the temperature of how our student, staff, and families are experiencing and navigating the district in their school. And so we are here this evening with Ms. Austin and Dr. Hayward to present the results of the 24-25 climate survey, which was administered this past spring. And they'll talk through some of those data points with you, and we'll also talk about what some of our next steps are based on the information that we were able to glean from the survey results. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hayward.
Thank you, Superintendent Parks, and good evening, trustees. Great to see you all. A positive school, I think I'll wait until get the slides up and going. Thank you. So a positive school climate is essential. It's an essential component of successful and effective schools. The AAPS Quality School Survey asked parents and guardians, community members, staff, and students in grades 3 through 12 for feedback. The results of the survey will obviously help to inform our decisions made at the district and our school levels. The survey focused on 8 key areas, which includes overall school quality, academic support, student support, school leadership, family involvement, safety and behavior, commitment to equity and anti-discrimination, and cultural pedagogy. We're going to highlight several of those areas this afternoon. As a district, we are committed to learning and growing from this data. Our goal is to recognize and celebrate the areas of strength while also identifying opportunities for improvement and for continued growth. So the overview of the study, this survey was conducted from May 14 through June 8, 2025, with results analyzed by participant group and compared to previous years, 2022 and 23, and 2021-22. Parent, guardians, and campus staff receive unique email invitations, with everyone also being able to access via a public link with reminders being sent throughout the period. The parent-guardian survey was available in multiple languages, including Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Spanish. Students in grades 3 through 12 access that link by using their student IDs while in the school setting. K-12, it's important to note that K-12 does omit data labels for students that fall below 5% in all visual displays. So we will not see that this evening. Participation. So while the survey window was open longer this past year and more invitations were sent than in the past, we see here that our response rates are lower for parent and guardians and for campus-based staff. We were intentional with our students by ensuring that they had time during the school day to complete the survey. Thusly, student participation rates have increased. Next slide. So what we will be sharing with you this evening is information about data from specific demographic groups. It's important for us to understand the demographics of the respondents who completed the survey to provide proper context for these results. So as you see here, 2,229 parent guardians took the survey, of which 54% are Caucasian, 14% Asian, 14% preferred not to answer, 5% are African American, 5% multi-ethnic, 3% Latino Hispanic, 1% Arab American, and 3% other. For our students, 5,098 students in grades 6 through 12 took the survey, 50% white, 14% Asian, 13% multi-ethnic, 12% Hispanic Latino, 10% Black African American, 1% Arab American. And for grades 3 through 5, 2,720 students took the survey, and the racial makeup is 50% white, 15% multi-ethnic, 14% Asian, 11% Hispanic Latino, 10% Black African American, 1% Arab American. And then we're going to move on to our staff. 742 staff took the survey. 69% were teachers, 14% non-teaching staff, identified as non-teaching staff, 12% paraprofessionals, 3% administrators, and 1% substitute teachers. And the racial makeup, 61% Caucasian, 4% Asian, 5% African American, 4% multi-ethnic, 2% Latino Hispanic, 1% Arab American, 3% other, and 20% preferred not to answer. Next slide. This slide represents the language participation of our respondents. And as you see here, the majority of our respondents who participated in English, followed by smaller numbers in other languages. Participations rates decreased in Arabic and Chinese compared to previous years. The survey does provide translations to ensure inclusivity. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Austin, who's going to talk to you more about cautions and caveats. But before I do that.
I think Vice President Schmidt had a question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So would you go back a slide, please? So when we see 69% were teachers, of that group, those people that took the survey, 69% were teachers that took it.
Yes.
Do we know the percentage of our teachers that actually took part in the survey? You know what I'm saying? Like if we took 100% of teachers, how many of them actually took part? Do we know that?
That's the response rate.
Yeah, we have the total response rate. I don't know of that 69%.
I mean, we have the total of all those
teachers.
groups,
Correct.
and of all those groups, 69% were teachers. But I'm just trying to get a sense of
what percentage of actual
Teachers.
total
Yeah,
teachers.
because
We have to
if
come
there's a
through.
teacher voice that I want to hear,
Yes.
and maybe they were 69% of this amount, but if it wasn't that many teachers, I want to know. And if they want their voices heard, then I need all of them to do it. But maybe many of them did it. I don't know.
We can comb through the raw data to see if we can determine
Yeah,
that.
and I just think that would be useful to know. Yeah, thanks.
Trustee Wilkins?
Can't we take 69% of the 742 that responded in that category?
We absolutely can do that, but we still
And that'll
would-
tell us how many teachers
Yes.
it was.
And we can also comb through the raw data.
We can't do
to
it that
see-
way?
No, because
If you go back to the response rate slide, It says,
Slide number 4.
slide 4,
That's campus-based staff.
right, that includes teachers.
Yes.
And there were 742 of them.
But that's just,
No, no,
So
no.
69% of that 742 were teachers.
but that's just.
So we just gotta do
Look
math.
at the number of invitations.
That's what I'm trying to.
So what's,
You want to know how many teachers responded?
yeah. That's what I want to know.
69%.
Out of our total number of teachers, that was 69% of that total group. They
Right.
put them all together. I want to know what percentage of all of our teachers went on to this survey and took the survey.
So then we just need to know how many teachers we have.
I think Dr. Hayward says she can get us the number.
We can get the raw
So,
data,
well,
just so that we're clear.
Why don't we keep
Yeah.
moving?
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So it's some important cautions and caveats to mention. Some individuals may have not answered all the questions in the survey. And it's important to note that respondents respond voluntarily to the survey. And we know from what the data showed earlier that Dr. Hayward presented that white female respondents are overrepresented, while our Black and multiracial respondents are underrepresented. And so we see a need for increased representation from our underrepresented groups.
Trustee Basket?
Quick question, Ms. Alston.
Yes.
The questions that were asked this year, are they the same as in previous years? Did we do any modifications of the questions?
So there were some changes made to the survey that we'll speak about later when we get to the equity and anti-discrimination.
We
part.
added some questions
We
to
added
be able
some
to drill down some
Okay,
more.
thank you.
Yes.
Trustee Muhammad, I'm sorry, did you say something?
No, I was just saying that's new.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so the survey is made up of a scale, and overall, the school quality scale consists of excellent, good, fair, and poor. And the majority of the questions are strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, or don't know. Next slide. So this slide depicts an overall school quality summary. Some areas to highlight: elementary students rated school quality at 88%, campus-based staff at 85%, and parents and guardians rated school quality at 81%. 88% of elementary students and 89% of our secondary students felt they had opportunities to ask questions while in class. And the next set of slides will show the data more in depth and more in a bar graph format. We will not read through every slide that you have or that we have, but the information is provided in front of you. This is just a summary of the data. Next slide. So this bar graph depicts the comparison by respondent type. So you'll see parents and guardians, campus-based staff, secondary students, and elementary students rating the overall quality of their school. Next slide. This depicts our secondary students and their school experiences. Just to highlight one area, you'll see that there are 84% of our secondary students engage in discussion with their peers. And that's like in the middle of the bar graph. Next slide. And here are our elementary students in grades 3 through 5. And this shows their experiences. 79% of elementary students report that they have the opportunity to make choices about how they share or demonstrate their thinking while in class. And you'll see the other responses on here. So now I'll turn it over to Dr. Hayward to talk about student support and relationships.
Thank you, Ms. Austin. So we know that strong student support and positive relationships are a foundation to the academic success, emotional well-being, and overall school engagement for our students. When students feel seen, valued, heard, respected, connected, to caring adults in our schools, they are more likely to attend school on a regular basis and be successful. So here we see that 86% of parent guardians and 88% of secondary students reported having a supportive staff member for school problems. 73% of parents and guardians and 79% of secondary students mentioned support for personal problems. So one is school-related problems, the other is personal problems. Among elementary students here, 73% felt they could talk to an adult about school issues, yet 52% felt comfortable discussing personal problems. Overall, the data highlights a need to strengthen support systems for students around their personal issues that they may be experiencing. Next slide. Additionally, 91% of elementary students believe or somewhat believe that they have adults who treat students with dignity and respect, while 92% of secondary students felt or somewhat felt a sense of belonging at school, while 8% did not feel a sense of belonging. 91% of elementary students felt or somewhat felt understood by peers and by staff, while 88% of secondary students felt or somewhat felt understood by peers and staff. This data really underscores a need for fostering a more inclusive learning environment that supports students and adult connections while at school. It also shows that additional efforts are needed to enhance a sense of belonging for our students at our schools. The next few slides provide a more in-depth look at the information I just summarized on the previous slides around student support and relationships. These slides include graphs to illustrate the data. This slide shares comparison by respondent type, parent guardians, campus-based staff, and secondary students. The NA is a result of this particular question here not being asked to secondary students. Next slide. Here are responses from students in grades 6 through 12. It's a comparison over time that was included in the summary. And we see here percentages increased in pretty much each area for secondary students. Next slide, please. It is important to know here when considering comparative data over time, areas within on this particular slide were not asked in previous years, as Ms. Austin has shared previously. And so as such, there are questions within this 24-25 climate survey that are really baseline data for us. Ensuring that our students have a voice through student listening sessions, affinity groups, student council, and other leadership opportunities, check in, check out with adults, identifying student needs through screeners, and building those authentic, genuine relationships all work to increase student engagement in our schools. Next slide, please. Continuing with student responses in grades 6 through 12, we see on this slide that 92% of students feel a sense of belonging at school or somewhat feel a sense of belonging at school. 88% who feel like or somewhat feel like people understand who they are as a person. And so again, we must strengthen our efforts in reaching all of our students. That's always our goal. We want every student to feel a sense of belonging and to feel like they are welcome and included on every school campus that we open. Next slide, please. And this slide represents students in grades 3 through 5 and their responses in connecting to adults in our schools and engaging with them. And so an example on this slide is 85% of the student respondents feel their school offer activities that they are interested in. Continuing with grades 3 through 5, 92% of students somewhat feel a sense of belonging at their school. 91% somewhat feel that they are understood as people. And so this is baseline data here. However, it's clear we always have work to do in addressing the 10% and the 7% of students who don't feel a sense of belonging, nor feel seen or heard as people, as human beings. Now I am going to turn it over to Ms. Austin to talk about safety, security, and student behavior.
So as we preview our perception data, as highlighted earlier, it's important that we also review our safety, security, and student behavior as relates to how it's perceived in our schools. So we see that there was a notable increase in responses regarding school safety from the 2022-23 school year to the most current school year last year of 24-25. 84% parent guardians, 81% campus-based staff, and 76% secondary students, and 72% of elementary students believe that their school is safe. There is a positive trend in perceptions of school safety. While the majority of our respondents feel like the school is safe, we certainly notice some disconnections between our students' perceptions, parents' perceptions, and staff, and how they view bullying and safety concerns and how they're addressed and how discipline is enforced. As we work this year on our Student Support Advisory Committee, we will be working to address these items. Next slide. Continuing the summary of safety, security, and student behavior, we note that there are 70% of parents or guardians who believe our students treat each other with dignity and respect. 73% of campus-based staff, 64% of secondary students believe staff members and students treat each other with respect. 84% of elementary students believe or somewhat believe adults in the school treat students with dignity and respect, while 92% of campus-based staff and 84% of secondary students are aware of what they should do in the event of an emergency. And 89% of elementary students know their school's safety and security drills. While perceptions of safety, as noted before, have improved, much attention is given to enhancing these standards for fostering a safe and secure learning environment for our community. And over the next few slides, we'll take a closer look at the safety, security, and student behavior data depicted in bar graphs. So I'm going to highlight here that during the 2024-25 school year, 81% of our secondary students agree that all staff members are aware of the safety and security procedures. Next slide. Here is a slide that shows comparison over time as perceived from our secondary students. You can see here that 70% of secondary students agree that their school grounds are well kept. Again, continuing on. Did you go on to the next slide, Andrew? Okay. 84% of students are aware of what they should do in the event of an emergency. This shows our perception data from our elementary students in grades 3 through 5. For example, 94% agree or somewhat agrees that they know what to do in the event of an emergency. Dr. Hayward will now come up to summarize the family involvement portion of the climate and culture survey.
Thank you. Family involvement is a critical component to student success. Strong family-school partnerships foster a sense of belonging, it builds trust, and it supports a positive school climate. And by working together with our families and partnering with them, schools and families can create an environment where every student can thrive. And so the data surrounding the family involvement piece, I will share with you over the next few slides, support that 90% of parent guardians agreed that they felt welcome at their child's school, suggesting a strong sense of inclusion and belonging. Most families reported easy communication, with 89% saying they can easily contact teachers and 84% saying the same about other school staff. Among those who reached out, over 89% found teachers and staff to be very courteous. And additionally, 71% of families were aware of school activities, while 63 felt encouraged to attend those events. Next slide, please. We see here that 93% of campus-based staff agreed that the school is welcoming for students and families, or families, I should say. A strong majority of parent guardians, 86%, felt that staff and families treat each other with dignity and respect, creating a collaborative environment. 78% of our parents' guardians stated that parent organizations are welcoming and inclusive, which support family involvement in schools. And so the data just shows while there is strong support for family engagement in our school activities and decision-making, we still have work to do to ensure that all families feel like they belong and are welcome in all of the activities that our schools hold. It's also important that we work to enhance family engagement by continuing to foster a welcoming environment and strengthening those communication tools that we share with our families, being intentional about reaching out to families and inviting them to our schools so that they can participate in committees such as PTSO, attending fun nights, parent-teacher conferences, and so we know we have some work to do to be intentional with our efforts. Next slide, please. These next few slides, as we have been doing, just kind of highlights the visuals for what we shared in our summaries. This slide represents responses from parent guardians, campus-based staff, and students in grades 6 through 12 by comparison. And so an example here is 90% of parents feeling welcome at their child's school. Next slide, please. This slide it also includes responses from parent guardians, campus-based staff, and students in grades 6 through 12. An example on this slide is at least 84% of students, campus-based staff, and parents feel that their school inform families about school-related events. This last slide under family involvement represents student responses in grades 3 through 5. We see here that 90% of students feel their family knows about school-sponsored events. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Austin.
So our commitment in Ann Arbor Public Schools to equity and anti-discrimination is unwavering. And so it is important for us to get some insight and baseline data on how our community feels about equity and anti-discrimination. 9% of our parent guardians reported experiencing harassment based on race, with 25% of secondary students stating they were unaware of such incidents. 78% of our parent guardians, 75% of campus-based staff, and 67% of secondary students are aware of district policies regarding inequitable treatment. Next slide. This slide depicts the commitment to equity and anti-discrimination by respondent type, getting perception data from our parent guardians, campus-based staff, as well as our secondary students. For example, 86% of our students, secondary students, 94% of campus-based staff, and 80% of parent guardians agree that school leaders and staff are welcoming to all families of all cultures. Next slide. Our commitment to equity and anti-discrimination, as stated before, is a priority in our district. We want to know, do the intentional actions that we believe we are doing match the perceptions of our students, staff, and families? 82% of campus-based staff and 66% of parent guardians agree that district leaders and staff are welcoming to all families of all cultures. Next slide, please. This is a continuation of our commitment to equity and anti-discrimination, part of our survey. And so this highlights how our respondents feel about the following statements. Next slide. And this shows our perception data from our elementary students. For example, on this slide, you'll see that 88% of our elementary students agree, or some agree, that people of different cultural backgrounds, races, or ethnicities get along well at their school. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Hayward to talk about cultural pedagogy.
Responsive pedagogy is essential because it recognizes and values the diverse cultural backgrounds, experiences, and identities that students bring to our school campuses. By connecting curriculum, instruction, and relationships to students' lived experiences, educators can create more engaging and meaningful learning environments. And so we see here with cultural pedagogy, 97% of our staff reported knowing students' names, indicating strong student-to-teacher relationships. Just over half of parents, 56%, felt staff take time to learn about student cultures, while 88% of staff felt they take time to learn about student cultures. 67% of parent guardians believe classroom materials reflect multicultural and global awareness, indicating some inclusion in educational resources, while 87% of staff and 77% of students felt materials reflect multicultural and global awareness. The data simply underscores the opportunity to strengthen the connection between students, staff, and the diverse cultures that we serve. Understanding students' background is crucial for creating a supportive learning environment. The data also points to the need for continuous training for staff in cultural responsiveness, which is essential for supporting all of our students. Our teaching and learning department is ensuring curriculum materials reflect diverse perspectives and cultural identity. This includes new elementary arts and letters curriculum and its diverse lessons. Our English department is also working to ensure all novels in grades 6 through 12 are diverse. And the social studies department celebrates and affirms cultural diversity through its lessons, instructional materials, and classroom discussions as aligned with the Michigan K-12 social studies standards. These next few slides provide in-depth visuals and a summary overview on cultural pedagogy. This slide shows responses from parent guardians, campus-based staff, and secondary students. And so an example on this slide is that 78% of students feel staff members know their names, while 97% of staff feel they know student names. Next slide, please. This slide highlights comparison over time from students in grades 6 through 12. And so as we see here, there's continued work to be done with staff learning and understanding our students' backgrounds, our cultural backgrounds. Next slide, please. This slide shows responses from our students in grades 3 through 5. So example on this slide shows that 89% of student respondents feel that staff know their names. So now we'll turn it over, and so we're going to talk about recommendations and next steps.
So the next few slides will show the overall recommendations based on the Culture and Climate Survey that was conducted the 24-25 school year. And then we will discuss next steps for each respondent group. We will strengthen equity, inclusion, and safety initiatives by looking at enhancing our communication and reporting structures, which is improving systems for students, families, and staff to report concerns related to anti-discrimination, school safety, bullying and harassment, and support for underrepresented families. In addition, we will collaborate with K-12 Insight to improve the clarity and inclusiveness of survey questions. For example, the original question states, teachers vary their instruction to include the culture of each of their students. An improved way to ask this question is, do the materials, textbooks, and lessons in your child's include a variety of cultural backgrounds? Next slide. Some additional recommendations include implementing additional systems to strengthen our anti-bullying measures, internally and externally, and standardizing and enforcing cell phone expectations across all levels.
So now we will go in depth and talk about some next steps relative to our various stakeholders who completed the survey. So I'm going to talk to you about some next steps around, some steps we're going to take around supporting our students. On the correct slide, thank you. So our collective commitment to supporting all of our students remains steadfast in everything that we do. And some of those next steps include continuing our efforts in engaging with students to ensure their voices are heard. We are currently doing this by having some of our students participate on a student support advisory committee where we meet with them monthly to talk about student discipline data and to review our rights and responsibilities handbook. And we'll be coming to you all in the spring to share some updates on that. We also want to prioritize building relationships in all of our schools and all of our classrooms with our students, making sure that they have a trusted adult that they can go to for personal and or school related reasons. And we are also, in November, we're actually starting to train our administrators on restorative practices. And so we have some training scheduled for November for all administrators. Next slide, please. Additionally, for our students, we want to continue to expand the MTSS or multi-tier support systems to assist them in their needs academically or behaviorally. We want to improve their voice by offering engaging opportunities, whether it's affinity groups, student leadership in our school buildings, other opportunities, student councils, etc. Next slide, please. We are excited this year to offer SABR screener, social, academic, and emotional behavior screener, to all of our 612 campuses this year. This screener will be provided for all students in the fall and in the spring, with winter being optional. Parents can elect to opt out. And so our principals are currently including the SABR screener and information about it in their parent bulletins over the coming weeks. But the screener will provide data for school staff, and it will allow them to check in on students based on how they respond to the 20 questions that they'll be asked if they participate in a screener. Additionally, we have the TRAILS mental health curriculum that is taking place in all of our schools and used throughout the school year. So these are just some of the tools that we take advantage of that allow us to get a sense of where our students are, what their needs are, and how we can best support them and their families. Next slide, please. And so we are always so grateful for our strategic community partnerships. We certainly will continue to work with our community partners. Our Director of Community Partnership, Nancy Shore, does an amazing job in connecting community partners with the needs of our buildings and our students. And this is not just during the day. And these are just some of the partnerships that we have, just a very small few that we outlined on the screen. But we have a lot of amazing partnerships. In our schools and our staff, our principals, they take advantage of that, supporting the needs of our students. And so when there's a need, they reach out to Nancy Shore. She connects with our principals every month through regular communication about all of the partnerships that we have in our community. And we're grateful for all of our community partners.
Yes, I just have to echo what Dr. Hayward said about Nancy Shore. She is amazing. And if you watch this video, just know that we know that you're amazing. Okay, and so I'll move on to next steps regarding parents and guardians with our family and community engagement. Key areas of focus based off our perception data is that we are going to continue to focus on fostering a welcoming environment to promote a sense of belonging, promoting equity and access and participation in all of our events, particularly focusing in on our underrepresented families, encouraging representation at our school events such as PTO, or our English language family events. And we will work to strengthen community connections by creating opportunities for district leadership to engage with the community to build on trust and build stronger partnerships. Next slide. And as we continue to partner with our parents and guardians, enhancing communication and outreach is an ongoing effort. This looks like personally reaching out to our families and directly contacting them to connect, particularly again with our underrepresented families, to invite them into school events. And we want to ensure that the communication that we give out to our families is communicated with them in their preferred language. Further, as we prepare to launch the survey for the spring of 2026, we are going to develop a QR code so that families can access the QR code that way. We also are going to invite families into our school to utilize our district devices for them to come into our school buildings to take the survey. And we intend to keep the window open as we did before to get more feedback from our families, particularly again, our underrepresented families. I also want to note that with the QR codes, we do plan to put them also at our community centers and the people that we partner with in the community. And so the last two slides of this presentation will highlight next steps for staff. As we wrap up this presentation, you may notice that there is an overlap between supports for students, staff, and parent guardians. And here are some current staff development and inclusion curriculum initiatives that are ongoing right now. Our Human Resources Department, they're on the road weekly or monthly in the buildings, hearing directly from staff. We also have a 2-year professional learning plan that is between two departments. It's aligns with teaching and learning department as well as school leadership, where our focus is on teacher clarity and success criteria. We're excited about that work. As Dr. Hayward stated, we also are embarking on restorative practices training for our staff, with the first group being trained as our leaders who set the tone. And you heard from our principals this evening. Our principals do all things, and so we're starting with our leaders to bring in restorative practices to each school building. We also are focusing on clear school-based systems for students to support the behavioral concerns and bullying, because we know that's also a real thing in our schools. We also have our district leaders engaged with school staff to strengthen communication, collaboration, and support. Further next steps for staff include a diverse curriculum with inclusive instruction. Through the Teaching and Learning Department, they actively work to ensure that the curriculum reflects the students and families that we serve, and that it also shows the cultures and perspectives of our students. The newly adopted ELA curriculum, Arts and Letters, is intentional around including diverse text and inclusive text. We also have the English and School Library Department focusing in on diversifying the selection of novels offered in secondary education. And Dr. Hayward spoke about this earlier. Our Social Studies Department celebrates and affirms cultural diversity through teaching and learning, and ensures that the materials are aligned to our Michigan K-12 social studies standards. So trustees, we have shared some data with you. We know that you also have it in front of you, and so we'll open up the floor for any questions or comments.
Trustee Wilkes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for this very detailed report. I would like to go back to slide number 4, if at all possible. The number of invitations that actually went out versus the number of responses from parents and guardians. I do believe there were like 21,000 invitations that went out.
Yes.
Yeah, almost 22,000.
And the response, we had like about 2,229, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this question came up in committee, but is that, do you consider that to be a fairly decent response rate? I mean, it seems fairly low in my opinion, but can you just sort of address that just a bit?
Yeah, I can start out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I can start out. It's certainly a decrease in the previous few years in terms of response rate, although there were more invitations sent out also this past school year than there were in the prior 2 years. And so we don't really know or attribute why that might be the case. What we've been working on and talking about as a leadership team is how we go about engaging with families to increase that number for the upcoming year.
Okay, well, one other thing I wanted to point out is that I appreciate the fact that we have next steps where we're trying to increase that number. You said by engaging with our community partners such as Peace Neighborhood, maybe making the survey accessible at those particular locations, or having the survey maybe on like a, I don't know, curriculum night or something like that, where you have sort of a captive audience, like parents are actually there, where they can actually fill it out, possibly.
The survey is offered in the spring, and so we don't tend to have curriculum nights in the spring. There are a lot of year-end activities taking place. That could be another reason why parents may not take the time to fill it out. But we are thinking about being intentional and having QR codes posted in the community centers, inviting parents into our buildings to utilize our devices to complete the survey. So we are thinking about some additional steps, proactive measures we can take for our parents.
I think that's a really good, that's a great thing to do, because there are opportunities to capture more parents and guardians to be able to really, give us even more additional information that'll be helpful, that will help us, going forward. So I appreciate the fact that we are looking at other options.
And also, I would add one additional thing we've also been talking about, not just having families come into us. What are the ways that we can go out to families? And so they don't have to come into, they're welcome to come into our schools and use the devices, but for families who, for whatever reason, can't, or that's not their preference, how might we go to families? So those are also conversations that we're having in determining some things that we can do differently this coming cycle for the climate survey.
That's great.
Trustee Schmidt?
I'm just curious, how much time does it take to complete one of these surveys, would you say on average?
I took it as a parent.
Well, what'd you find out?
It took me about 15 minutes. I read through each question thoroughly, and I filled it out for both my children, so 30 minutes for both.
Okay. Boy, seems like it would be longer with all the different questions, right? That's the way it came across to me. Okay. I'm trying to think about, I was digging in online trying to think, how do you raise those numbers of respondents? And, how do we incentivize? And one idea that I saw was your name is entered in a drawing for something. So, just a thought.
Trustee Muhammad?
So I know that there was some data that there were things that were grouped together in the summary slides, and then some that wasn't. So for example, I know for like slide 17, let me pull it up. So when it was described about students feeling that sense of belonging or feeling understood, the numbers, the percentage is 92%. But I don't know what is the reasoning, because I feel like they're very different responses. Like if I answered this, I took the survey too for my kids, but if I took this, for example, a secondary student feeling belonging versus somewhat feeling a sense of belonging, I feel like are very different. So I don't think it's really reflective. Like I understand, like why are those two things? Because if you look at slide 21, it's, you know what I mean? You can't really group.
Yes, some of the areas we captured somewhat or positively 100% identified as yes, they do, and some were broken out, but all of them are broken out in the slides.
Yes,
so you can see all of the categories regardless of that piece in the data slides. So the data slides are broken up by do, somewhat, or don't. So you'll be able to see those exact percentages for all those three areas on the data
I understand
slides.
that. I just feel like they're, you can't really, it is a problem when a student feels that they're somewhat feeling belonging compared to, so you can't really say like 92 or whatever, 90% of students. But I agree, like you can categorize, like you can group if someone says strongly agree or agree. But like, I just felt like the groupings are kind of, I mean, yes, the data is here, but it's not really, like how I would have presented it is that there is still 42% that have somewhat of a sense of belonging, which is still a problem.
So I think one of the challenges with questions like this, and I'll point to the learning style question, learning styles, that whole thing has been debunked in research as being questionable. What does that mean, learning styles? It could be my preference. It could be, I mean, there's a lot of things. That's a big area. But yet we're asking students, was the learning style you prefer? I'm not even sure the students kind of knew that, especially our 3rd through 5th graders, what that question was about. A sense of belonging. We talk about this like we all have the same definition of that. It's one of those, what does that mean? Am I in the popular group I want to be in? Am I not in the popular group I want to be in? Are they noticing? I don't know. So I think questions like that are really hard to really, you can get a general sense.
Yeah.
But
No, it's hard, but that's why you don't want to also group them together. So that's why, because it is different. Like someone's definition of belonging could be very different than somewhat belonging versus. So I didn't know what the reasoning was for grouping them because it is still based on the broken up data, it is still concerning to see, 42% is somewhat feeling belonging. So it's important so I didn't know what the decision is as far as how you group things.
May I, Superintendent Parks?
Okay, I think that's.
Pardon me? May I step in for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the areas that we would like to highlight is in the very beginning when Dr. Hayward gave the demographic data. We want you to realize that all of our voices are not being heard. And so 50% of this data is data from our white students. So we're not getting data from the other groups that may have answered these questions differently. So I just want us all to take some time to recognize that our voices that are underrepresented are not overrepresented in this data.
They're underrepresented.
They're underrepresented. Thank you.
Trustee Basket?
I don't want to belabor this, but I just have a problem with the word belonging and the adult term of, we have spent a lot of time and commitment with our staff and team around cultural competency. And so, but I can't assume that the respondents have. I don't even know how I would answer the question belonging. Yeah, I'm very much part of this district, but do I belong anywhere? I don't know what that means. So I just think we need to be mindful of that. And perhaps next time try to get to the thoughts without using that particular word or question in the future. Thank you.
Trustee Wilkins?
I do want to go back to the response rate thing for a minute. I think to something, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but to try and get some more teachers to respond to this thing. It looks like you said that what you did this last time was give students time during class periods to answer. And you can see the huge jump in response rate, and if we're attributing to that. But when the when the students were doing that survey during class, the teachers must not have been doing it at the same time. So I don't know if there's something that could be done for that to try and hear, because, we really need to hear more from our teachers, right? And I had a question about the anti-bullying efforts. There was something about developing an internal reporting. Have we not had that before? And what's been...
Yeah, each school does, but we do have a number that people can call when they have concerns regarding bullying or discrimination. But we wanted to create a clear system, one that's not just kind of the external okay to say and other resources that we have. And so we're still working out what that will look like. But we want to make it something that's clearer, that's more accessible, that everybody in the community, our students, our staff, our families know where it is, where it lives, and that it will be managed by the district on a regular basis.
So it's semantics, but I want to make sure that we're not saying we're going to create something because, I want it to be like we're making it more clear or enhancing it rather than something we haven't had before. I knew we had something in place.
We do.
Yeah.
Trustee Baskin?
I believe it's slide 53. You don't have to pull it up. You can just answer the question. Second bullet, teacher clarity and success criteria, 2-year-long professional learning plan. What is teacher clarity and success criteria?
Yes, I looked over to Miss Linden. We made eye contact. Yes.
Jumping at the bit to answer this one.
You may recall, I don't know, it was 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we did a presentation on the professional learning plan. It is a handbook that is walking our teachers through the unpacking of the state standards and creating learning progressions through those standards, then learning intentions, which lead to success criteria. So the learning intentions are like the learning goals, and the success criteria are the things that are known to students, so that they can judge how well they are mastering that information. So it's all part of trying to entice and actively engage students in their learning by being transparent and also sharing with them how they can self-monitor. So it's a whole project that's going on for the next 2 to 3 years where we're really making this a standard practice in all of our classrooms.
So is this a name of a particular model?
It is, yes.
So as I've asked in the past, if these are trademark or brand names, if we can italicize it or put a TR or C, because I'm thinking, aren't our teachers already clear? And don't we have a success criteria?
Well,
So
yeah,
just wanted to
I don't know if
clarify.
the term teacher clarity is trademarked, but we are using a particular set of tools that are trademarked.
Okay, so again,
yes.
it's a model,
Absolutely.
if you will, or, so yeah, if we could just clarify that,
got
I
it.
appreciate that. And so we hope
you.
by doing this, this will do what?
So this is going to engage students in their learning more fully, as opposed to being passive bystanders who don't really know when the plane is landing or where it's landing.
That will increase their sense of belonging, or?
It's going to increase their achievement.
Okay, so again, with the climate survey, I mean, the thought is, I guess, by doing this, engaging them more, then that will increase.
It increases their
of-
success as learners, which also helps to internalize their own sense of learner capacity and capability. It's a really big deal
Okay.
to someone's self-esteem.
Sure.
When they begin to become more successful at what they are actively engaging in, as opposed to feeling as though I don't belong here, I have no idea what we're doing. They now have a door and an entrance into that.
So I appreciate that. It's just, I didn't get the sense of that we were measuring that particular thing in the climate survey. So
Right.
if we just make it a little more clear.
Yeah,
in the
that's a
future.
good
Around
suggestion.
engagement.
Yeah, okay.
Trustee Schmidt?
So something, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just to give an example. So the IB curriculum that you're trained in when you go through the IB is that every classroom, when a student walks in, there's an I can statement on the board. So that everybody knows this is what our goals are for that day, that week. And then at the end of class, there's a checkout. I don't know what it's called, but you do a little activity that sort of says, okay, I came in to learn this, I can do this, I've done this, the teacher can see, and it's, you know what the plan is, right? It's open to you. It's not your teacher's just lecturing and you're going to have this test whenever and you kind of don't really know. But that might be just an example of how that has to be intentionally worked into lessons, because that isn't just automatically what's done in a classroom.
All right. Well,
Can I just say?
sorry, Trustee Muhammad and then Trustee Wilkes.
So, I obviously I've seen this in committee. So this is the second time I'm seeing this. And obviously there are, some great trends like when it comes to the quality. I think overall in general, I think students appreciate the quality of the education. But there are some trends that are concerning. And I think you've highlighted some of those, especially among secondary students. That's the trends that I've saw mostly of. Feeling discipline is enforced fairly was something. Drugs and alcohol and that being part of that. Response to bullying, actually faced harassment and discrimination due to race or ethnicity. I saw, it's between, if you look at the response rates for secondary students, I know slide 40, it's anywhere from 1,250 students to 1,500 secondary students that actually said they actually faced those two. That's pretty significant because I don't know if we're getting that many reports coming into our schools, but there's multiple factors here. Them feeling that, again, disciplinary or maybe they're reporting things are being taken seriously. We don't know that, but that sense of like, if they report it, is it going to be handled? So I see some trends here that obviously I know we all care about and we want to address. And I'm glad that we asked these questions this year so we can see what the trends are every year, especially I think it was the race, ethnicity, discrimination, harassment piece. But I did bring this up in committee. I think it's great we have some set of recommendations and steps and the team's working really hard on trying to address this, but it is so important if we can look at the data when it comes to demographics. I know some demographics weren't well represented, but we can see like those that faced harassment, discrimination, feel the responsibility. We can see if we can, I think it's critical for us to look at that data too, because we may need to engage in those groups to get what they need before we start implementing a lot of these. There may be some changes, in those recommendations. And also, I realized we grouped, so secondary is a huge, 6 through 12. I didn't bring this up in committee, but the needs of middle schoolers and high schoolers are very different. So I don't know if there's a way to look at that data, because, implementing, something in middle school may not work in high school. So I think we got to dig a little bit deeper in that data before we can, especially to inform some of the other next steps. And then, obviously it's all connected. What's the root cause of this? What's the impact? Is this impacting absenteeism, discipline? So I think also engaging and hearing out what's really happening on the ground. Because this is just the snapshot, of what survey data we have. And I brought this up before when I first started on the board. Equity is a huge passion of mine, but we really need to think seriously about having an equity and inclusion department or officer or someone to really help with all, because it's not just this, it's not the climate survey. We're seeing, some of the inequities that we're seeing in academics and discipline. So I really want to bring that up to the board and to the administration to really seriously think about, I don't care what you call it, but just in a way where it's actually addressing some of the inequities and how students are feeling, and actually give some guidance, like an expert to help address these issues. Because it's not just in this climate survey. We're seeing these trends in discipline, and I love that we have a student support, group, but someone to help direct some of this stuff. And I think it's worth it. I know we talk about the budget, but we have to address this head on. So those are just my thoughts about, and I know the team's all working really hard, but it's hard to see some of this data, and I'm sure that you all felt the same way, but.
Trustee Wilkes?
Yeah, I just wanted to address what some of the trustees were saying about what does it mean, what does belonging mean And so I just decided I'm going to give a definition. Belonging is the feeling of being accepted, included, and emotionally connected to a group, leading to a sense of security and support. It involves feeling valued for your identity and having a sense of purpose within the group, and can also refer to the feeling of fitting in or being a part of something, a related meaning. Well, that's basically it. So, so when we talk about absenteeism, when we talk about student achievement, I believe that all of these things are interconnected when it comes to belonging and just feeling a sense of purpose of being in a particular, in your classroom, or really feeling a part of it. So, so when I think of belonging, it gives you sort of a reason to be there, a reason to come to school every day, a reason to want to be there, a reason to actually be engaged and to be a part of that community that is if you're not there, it's like the show can't go on in that classroom. You're needed. So, so again, I think that a sense of belonging has a lot to do with addressing absenteeism and student achievement. So, and I'm glad that we've done this survey, this climate survey. It's difficult to look at all this data and to really digest, what's being presented. And I do hope that we will be able to have greater representation from groups that were underrepresented in this particular survey, just to really get a clear picture of what we're really looking at. So, so thank you. I mean, this was a long presentation. It was a lot there, but thank you so much for presenting it.
I see Trustee Basket and then Trustee Schmidt.
Thank you, Trustee Wilkes, for the definition. My challenge is, does a 8-year-old know what that means? And I don't know if the questions, again, for continuous improvement, do we have a different set of questions for 3rd to 5th grade as opposed to an 11th grader?
We do.
So then, again, I'd like to look, again, I don't want to go too deep, but having done surveys in the past, what did we ask to get to that sense? If we had asked, do I feel like coming to school every day? Strongly agree, disagree. Do I feel like my classmates like me? My teachers like me? Then that to me would all translate to a sense of belonging. But when I just see, imagining a 3rd grader say, I belong in school. Well, yeah, you belong in school because your parents sent you there. But, that's not what the definition I think that we were aiming for, or the sense. But I appreciate the work, as always, every year, because while not perfect, it gives us a guide, which we didn't have before. So, keep up the good work. This is, again, a indication of where we are and where we have to go. It sounds like you have a lot of great next steps, although I don't understand all of them. I appreciate the clarification on them, because I do get a sense that you know the challenge right now. We know where we want to be, and we're not quite there yet. And so this kind of guides our path as we develop our next steps. So thank you, team, and Superintendent Parks.
Thank you all very much. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
I believe that brings us down to our added item, the MASB delegate discussion. And I will turn it over to Trustee Wilkes. I believe you made the motion, so you can kind of tell us what you want us to do.
Okay, thank you, President Feaster. So a few weeks ago, the board elected delegates to represent our particular board at the Michigan Association of School Boards upcoming conference that's taking place starting tomorrow. And so let me just read this real quick. So we're going to be voting on various items from the MASB. So the Michigan Association of School Boards is a voluntary nonprofit organization representing the boards of education of nearly all local and intermediate school districts. The delegate assembly provides direction to the association, its officers, and committees through the adoption of resolutions, and all resolutions adopted by the delegate assembly become the official position of MASB as interpreted and pursued by the board of directors. The delegate assembly also may vote on proposals to amend the MASB articles of incorporation and bylaws. So trustees, you each should have received an email from the MASB with the MASB Delegate Assembly Handbook that gives a listing of everything that we're going to be voting on at this upcoming conference. So Trustee Beskett and I are the delegates for this particular assembly. And so we'll be voting on behalf of this particular board. I'm assuming you've had a chance to look through the handbook. Are there any items that you would like to discuss or that you don't necessarily agree with the position that the MASB has taken? And if so, this would be your opportunity to share that. So I would, and I can turn it over to Trustee Beskett if she has more to add.
No, I will just, thank you, Trustee Wilkes. Just remind the trustees that this was sent September 23rd, and so it's probably buried in your email. I'm sure you have a lot of other things there. And if you go to the last few pages of the handbook, page 44 specifically, talks at Chapter 4 on amended resolutions. So, as Trustee Wilkes said, you have a lot of language here that clarifies the current position of the MASB, and at any point a delegate or a member of a school board actually can raise the question to MASB, why are you taking this position? I recommend a change for that position. Then that goes through committee. As she has stated, the Assembly will be voting on these resolutions as well as affirming the past positions of MASB. So if you have, I know we've all been swamped with a lot of things to do. If you have any inclination to offer an opinion regarding the amended resolutions, please contact us. The Assembly is not till tomorrow night. Thursday night. At any point, we will take your feedback to the Assembly. It is an interesting process, very structured process on making changes. But again, if we can't change anything, at least we can raise the opposition or affirmation, if you'd like, regarding any of this work. Thank you.
Thank you, trustees. Trustee Schmidt, yes.
So was there any particular issue that when you reviewed them, you had a question mark that would be useful for us to discuss as a body together? Did anything jump out at you?
For me personally, the assessment and competency testing, there's been a lot of conversation about that. There have been a few changes this year. Nothing really earth-shaking or anything that I would think we would question as a board, and knowing the personalities that we have. Now, again, we haven't taken a vote on any of this, and we could have, as other boards do, go through every single one and vote, but I didn't think that was the preference of our particular board, giving the timeliness of our meeting. The board has, the board of directors, the MASB, has taken positions. What really strikes me is affirming the unfunded mandate and the call for funding. Before you ask us for another thing, give us a little more cash to do what we already do. And again, it's much more formal and eloquently said than what I just did. But again, I think it's a good representation of all the districts and how we have been feeling this past year. So nothing earth-shaking, so to speak. Again, you can read through the amendments, but I don't think anything controversial.
Yeah, just to answer your question, nothing jumped out at me that was just earth-shaking or alarming.
I have to say, I've missed that email. I'm even searching through it, and I don't see anything popping up
We
here.
got a lot that week.
Yeah, and to clarify, I think the other two were just increasing family involvement in schools and
which I think we agree on, what we just talked about.
And then making sure curriculum's designed by educators.
Yeah.
Right. So did you receive the handbook? Okay,
yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, I will look, though, at this assessment one. I don't know the details, but I know we do way too much testing, but I don't know if it deals with that as far as statewide.
Well, one of the things, so let me just read this one paragraph, just because, again, I think you'd be interested, Trustee, given your background, the MASB supports the publication of comprehensive list of authors and contributors to the state K-12 content standards and state standardized assessments to promote transparency and the participation of K-12 educators and child development experts in these initiatives. And what I think people would appreciate is the rationale for these changes, is the committee wanted to emphasize the assessments should be written by those with experience and expertise in education and making assessments grade appropriate. So we know in the past there have been some legislators without, knowledge is one thing, but without consulting us as educators, and I say us for you educators, but also all who make policies regarding education, include us. Talk to us, those of us who do the work, before you make those changes.
Yeah, and let me just add one other thing along those same lines. This particular amendment says, it also says the MASB opposes the use of testing as the predominant criterion for student promotion, graduation, school district accreditation, teacher and administrator evaluation, school funding, or for the determination of school district success.
That was in it last year, in the position last year.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, trustees.
Thank you, trustees, yeah.
Thank you for that late addition.
Thank you for bringing that forward. I believe that brings us down to second briefing on AN 2241, high quality literacy material, Great Minds Purchase Recommendation 35M grant. Were there any changes?
No changes.
All right. And I think that brings us down then. That's included in the consent agenda? Oh, Ms. Osinski?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
So I believe that brings us down to the consent agenda. Ms. Osinski, will you please read the consent agenda?
Sure will. Approve Annex AN-2241, high-quality literacy materials, Great Minds Purchase Recommendations, utilizing the 35M grant. Approve minutes of the October 8th, 2025 regular meeting. And if I could, trustees, I know that you did review the closed session minutes from September 10th. Could I, if it's all right, could I add that? I apologize, I missed that. And
Yes.
then on the consent agenda, also to approve a closed session at 6 p.m. on November 5th, 2025, for the purpose of negotiations and attorney-client privilege.
Would anyone like to remove any item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by trustee Wilkerson, supported by trustee Schmidt. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Osinski, please.
Trustee Wilkes.
Yes.
Trustee Wilkins.
Yes.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt.
Yes.
Trustee Muhammad.
Yes.
President Feaster.
Yes.
Trustee Basket.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, and before we go to board action, I think we still have a video that Mr. Cluley was going to try to play for us.
Let's cross our fingers.
I love that Meg speaks to students really respectfully, even when they're in their toughest moments and the middle of a meltdown. And she just kind of gets down and meets them at their level and is able to be kind and empathetic and just show them as much love as she can.
He really cares about everyone in this building, and he's always making sure to do his best, even when others aren't.
Our principal, Brandon Swakowski, is one of the most genuinely kind people I think I've ever met. He has a massive heart for these children. He would bend over backwards just to make sure that they succeed.
Best principals in the world, and I like her very much, and she gives me hugs and high fives every day.
We love Corey here at Thurston. He puts kids and teachers first, and everybody is successful because of it.
I like Dr. Parnell because she's so awesome, and she always greets people when she walks in the hallway.
Tell him you're very sweet, and when we go to the office and we're feeling off, you always take care of us.
If I ever move on to a leadership position, I would really want to pull some of the qualities that you all have.
Mr. Hogan is the best principal in the world because he always does dance parties on Friday last year. Mr. Hogan is the best principal in the world.
Is always looking towards the future and thinking about what's good for the program and good for our students and good for the district.
One of the reasons our school is so special is because we have administrators like Mr. Billings and Ms. Sales who make this place feel like a real community.
And her energy and her smiles and all of her dedication to the kids makes a wonderful asset to our building.
She's very beautiful, she's very kind, she's not being mean, and I like her very much.
Michael is wonderful, and I don't think I want to go anywhere to sub other than here.
A wonderful, wonderful person. He is an absolute great leader, one of the best I've ever known. All of the students and all of the parents, the families have so much respect for him.
Miss Hubbard is the best principal ever. Thank you, Miss Hubbard, for being our principal.
Super supportive of her students. She really works to listen to our staff members and our feedback. She's always down to have a good laugh. And we think she's really stylish, super stylish.
Miss Coker, just letting you know you're a great principal. I just want you to know.
One thing I like is how he greets and welcomes the students or has something encouraging or pertinent to say to each one of them.
Something I really appreciate about Mr. Wright is that he's always kind and thinking about students first, but also taking care of us teachers as our needs. So I really appreciate that he has our back.
I feel so lucky to work with Mrs. Clinkscale. She makes every day so much fun. She's an amazing leader and an even better support.
I appreciate Dr. Jones and the positive vibes he brings here to BA. He has been really encouraging us to think through some of the great things we're seeing in our students during the week, and it has just been a really great way for us to see the positives.
Marcy is super fire. We love Marcy here and she makes our school awesome.
Miss Newing is an amazing, great principal. She takes care of Forsyth Middle School, and we love to see her with her big old smile and her fantastic braids. I like Principal Miller because she's really nice and kind. She's funny, her personality, and she's very kind and sweethearted.
She truly believes in diversity, inclusion, equality. She gets along with the kids well.
We love Miss Cuckoo. We're really glad that she's here and that things have really started to kind of stabilize and after a couple of leadership changes. And so thanks, Miss Cuckoo, for being here.
Thank you for being such a good principal, Krista, and helping out our community in the classrooms.
There's so many things about Natasha I could say, but one thing about her is her kindness, and she does not require anything from her staff that she wouldn't do herself.
Wines is such a special place because of our administration with Dr. DeYoung.
Great leadership here at Wines.
He comes with a lot of wonderful ideas. He understands our students, but he also appreciates the need for us to be educational and supportive.
She has such a great vision for our school with bringing all of our different populations and communities together. And she's been able to share that vision with the staff, and we love to support her.
Mrs. Cruz is really nice, and she helps people when she gets hurt at recess.
Happy Principal Appreciation Day. You are the bomb.
Nice job. Very nice. Thank you, Mr. Kluger.
I would like to share that there is a longer version with a couple more comments about each and every one of the principals that's available on our website or APS District News that you can see the full video.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kluger.
That's cute.
And I believe that brings us down to board action, which I don't believe we have any. So that brings us down to items for agenda planning. Trustees, are there any additional or new items for agenda planning? Seeing none, I believe that brings us down to items from the board. Do trustees have anything they would like to share? Trustee Wilkins?
I have one thing. I know it's been in some communications, but just wanted to make folks aware that the PTO Thrift Shop made a donation to Ann Arbor Public Schools recently of $18,000, and it's going to be dedicated to basic needs for students like clothing and snacks and things like that. So just wanted to publicly thank the PTO Thrift Shop for this and other donations they've done, and thank the parents that donate there and shop there and keep that place going.
Thank you. Thank you. Trustee Schmidt?
Just would like to say thank you to our staff that supported the Orton Gillingham training with the last cohort. I spoke with a teacher at one of our elementaries that took that training and said she was sitting on the edge of her seat for each session and how much she felt it made a difference and will make a difference in her teaching. And then Monday evening, I met with a group of parents that are very interested in literacy, and I think you're going to hear more from them in the future. The state dollars were cut for Orton Gillingham training going forward, and we know that teachers have signed up for that. And I think there'll be an effort, we'll talk about this, of how we're going to make this happen for the 30 teachers who signed up that are waiting to do it, that'll still be able to get that training. So they're a very motivated group of parents.
Trustee Wilkes?
Yeah, I just wanted to real quickly give appreciation to all of our principals during Principal Appreciation Month. And I know Principal Hogan, AKA Batman, did a super job. But I also wanted to thank all of our Wonder Women out there who are principals and our Supermen. They're all amazing, and we could not do this without them. So just kudos to all of our principals.
All right. Well, thank you very much, trustees. Do I have a motion to adjourn by voice vote?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Wilkes, supported by Trustee Wilkerson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor to adjourn say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. We are adjourned at 9:22.
Record